Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renee Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of Dave Matthews Band. If you're not familiar with Dave Matthews Band, they are a band that started in 1991 in a little town, or what was little then, Charlottesville, Virginia. It's a beautiful city to this day. The band started in 91 and we are celebrating 35 years this year in 2026. It's hard for me to even say that, yet believe it, but basically my whole life, or what feels like my whole life, has been consumed with Dave Matthews Band. But I know I'm not alone because there are thousands of fans that love this music all around the world. And so if this is your very first time listening to this podcast, just know that every single episode is completely different. Every episode we have a fan of Dave Matthews Band to join the show and share their journey. Why do they like this music? Why do they listen to it? Why are they still listening to it after 35 years? But of course, we have all ages in every range. We just had an 11-year-old on the show. We've had 18-year-olds on the show. And of course, this music is a little different to them because they weren't around in 91. So how does someone find out about the original sounds of this band and like the history of this band without going to YouTube or listening to recordings? Well, we're going to talk about one of those ways that you can discover the original sounds of what Dave Matthews Band sounded like in this episode. So we have a guest on the show. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and where in the world are you?
Hey, yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm Zach. I'm out in New Hampshire in the greater New England area, southern New Hampshire specifically.
Beautiful. I've never been to New Hampshire.
Yeah, you'll have to come out. It's beautiful.
So what is New Hampshire known for? Every state's known for something. What is something big that New Hampshire is known for?
Well, it's funny. I'm a transplant, technically. I'm originally from Seattle.
Gotcha.
But if there's anything I've learned being here for a few years, I don't know. Maple syrup, kind of like Vermont is here. And their infamous slogan of "Live free or die."
There you go.
And then just love having mountains, beaches, lakes, like everything. It's a great outdoor area for sure. So, which is part of what drew us to here, being from Seattle. So.
Yeah, completely. I mean, across the whole country, you just made that's a big move, and all the way across the country. But I'm glad that you're happy there. And again, thank you so much for joining this show. Tell us a little bit of things that you like to do outside of music.
Yeah, outside of music, involved in aviation, both flying the toy airplanes, the RC planes, and then also general aviation airplanes like Cessnas, as an example. Do some flight instruction, and then my day job is flying the big metal tubes around. So I do a lot of that. And then I love skiing, hanging out with the wife and doggies, doing walks, going to the ocean, just stuff to get out and just enjoy, like I was saying, the New England, New Hampshire vibes out here. So
yeah, for sure. For sure. So the $1 million question on every episode is, when did you first hear of the music of Dave Matthews Band?
I think I'm sure I heard it before this memory, but I know this memory stood out the most to me because it was the first time I'd really had it put in front of me purposefully. And I think I was in 7th or 8th grade, so it would have been 13, 14. Somebody, our neighbor actually, I think, bought us the Gorge 2002 box CD/DVD. And we put that into the DVD player, and the title screen. You remember with DVDs, you'd have the title screen with the looping music. It was the jam of What Would You Say? And my ears, I didn't know at the time, but like I'm a huge fan of like soul, funk, that kind of a vibe, and just that tune just screams that. And then from there, I just went down the rabbit hole.
Yes, yes. Now, have you had lots of opportunities to kind of dig deep into the history of Dave Matthews Band? Have you had a chance to see any of the shows? I mean, this year we're celebrating 35 years, so there's just so much to talk about, so much to say, right?
I should have brought my poster in here thinking about this, because I guess I should have realized you're going to ask about the first experience. But yeah, I have the poster from it. It was, I think, night 2 of the Gorge in 2009 was my first show. I was spoiled growing up in Seattle. The Gorge was my first and like consistent DMB experience from '09 through I think basically COVID. I went every year pretty much except for whenever they
Wow.
didn't go, or maybe one year I had work that interfered. But I was very spoiled with that. But yeah, no,
Yes.
I've seen them live there and then a few other places throughout the country as Dave and Tim and as the full band. And then as for like learning stuff about them, it really was just more the listening. Just
Hmm.
dove into every single live tracks. I even kind of found the naughty in-ear monitor mixes, the infamous ones. But it's
Right.
just it's crazy. It was really cool getting to listen just the whole catalog. And like you said, I just poured hours of my life into just learning the catalog and really being inspired by it too. And that's
Well, let's take it back. I know that you were a young age when you started the piano. Tell everyone kind of that story of how old you were, why you started, and how you kind of followed it, and you're still playing to this day the music that you love.
yeah. I think I'd always like from a young age had an interest in the piano. I think just pictures of me as a toddler sitting at it. I didn't really start official lessons until I think is it the summer after kindergarten or first grade, somewhere in that age range. I did classical. I know I expressed interest to my family like consistently enough that they're like, okay, let's find you a teacher. So
Yes,
and then,
yes.
yeah, I did, classical for about 10 or 15 years, and I think technically then about 5 to 7 years into that is when I found Dave, and then that also kind of pointed me in the direction of, like, I love my classical foundation that I have and the music
Hmm.
fundamentals that I've learned from it, but now I wanna play stuff that more people recognize, you know? So
Right.
that's where DMB definitely kinda started that path in addition to doing jazz band and stuff in school, but yeah, so
So there's going to be a lot of people that may be listening to this that are newer fans of Dave Matthews Band, and so when we
Mhm.
pull out names like Butch Taylor, there may be some like, who the hell are they talking about? So let's talk about it. Butch Taylor, of
Yeah.
course, that's kind of inspired what you do for DMTB. So you
Yes, yeah.
just found Butch through the band. It was not somebody that was already on your radar or anything. You just truly found them through DMB.
Yeah, it was the first time that I'd heard the piano used in a music that I enjoyed, also in like a jazz kind of vibe, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
it's like the clash of obviously that's why a lot of people like Dave Matthews is the clash of like the rock, well, really tons of different genres of music, but that's what pulled me in. And yeah, so long story short is he was with the band in the studio. I think as early as 97, 98, like the original Rapunzel, you'll hear him on that. His parts in there are detrimental to the original vibe of that groove. And then I think he was with them 98 through like basically 10 years, 98 through the beginning of the '08 tour. And then there is another gentleman, Peter Greiser, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Hopefully I didn't
Yes.
butcher it, but he was one of the original founding members of the band. And he actually, from what I understand, we should fact check this, but I'm pretty sure he wrote some of those earlier songs. Like he was one of the main writers of like what would you say? So much to say. I think a few of those he was a big part of writing those. Some of his stuff that DMTB we've kind of talked about doing as well because he put some cool spins on tunes like Two Step. If you go back in the early '90s, there's a cool like salsa jam at the end of that you wouldn't normally hear today. But
Right.
yeah, hopefully that answers at least the Butch and Peter side of things. But yeah,
Right, right. I love it when you're at a show, and of course, that leads me to saying, you're not at every show. How do we get so
no,
lucky to find Zach with DMTB? Because of course, you're not with them full time. What does your schedule kinda look like from year to year, and does is it just based on, family and work? Of course, it must be in some way, but
yeah.
how do they get
Yeah.
you lined up to be with them?
Basically, the long story short is, yeah, I mean, work, my full time job in aviation keeps me busy. And then, of course, family. But I try to fit in, usually, typically, depending on how heavy they're touring and how much they're near my neck of the woods, maybe 1 to 3 gigs a month with them. And yeah, they've been awesome. Like David will just say, hey, let me know what dates you're free. Let me know the shows that you're thinking about. And we'll make it work from there, basically. And
Mhm.
I've been really lucky to be able to be a part of it because they're putting a lot of work in and growing a great loyal group of people that come to see him, and I definitely feel lucky to get to be a part of it even part time.
How did this happen? How did you find them? Did you know about them? How did you apply? Like, how does this all work?
Yeah, that's the funny thing with the music industry is it's just so much of this guy heard this guy and thinks this guy should play with this guy. It's so much of just networking. And rewinding back to when I was in high school, I saw that the Dave Matthews tribute band was coming to Seattle. This is an earlier iteration with the prior lead singer and manager Ryan, and it was a completely different band. But I literally just like kind of advocated for myself as the passionate, nerdy Dave teenager and private message him like, hey, I would love to come see your show, and I play keys and know some of the parts, and it'll be cool to play with you. And that's what opened the door, is they actually were receptive and very gracious to have me come on with them. And that was a great earlier memory, the first time I'm like applying all this stuff that I spent hours listening to and learning and playing it for real.
Right.
And then from there, up before kind of David took the I guess the torch, so to speak, and started running the band fully. I played with that iteration of the band, even with David, a few times between 2012 and like 20, basically after COVID. It was maybe once every
Mhm.
year or two I played with them and networked that way. But yeah, it's crazy. It's just, I learned the stuff, put the time in, and then just hit them up kind of like as a Hail Mary. And yeah, they were great. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, who would have ever thought, you think of these things, and of course none of us know our futures, but like how
yeah,
cool that something that you love and that you loved from an early age is something that you ended up being able to kind of put into your life in a different way, right? And
yeah,
DMTB is definitely that way. I like to remind everyone that you guys really do pay tribute to the original sounds of the band. And that's what your aim is. Of course, no one has ever said, oh, we're trying to be just like Dave. No, 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 no. None of that stuff is happening. You guys have a different approach. You have such an appreciation and admiration and love for the music that is Dave Matthews Band and that was always from the beginning. But you guys have really kind of made such a cool base for people that weren't necessarily around in 91. And all we have are, old videos and old recordings, but we've never actually been in a room where, Butch Taylor or, any of these early sounds were happening because fans are every age all over the world. And whether it's age that has just taken you out from seeing that or that you live in Africa, and they never really go there. It's such a treat to be in a room and close your eyes and just feel that I don't know, it's like a connection with your youth if you're old enough
yeah.
to understand that. But for the people that have been born later in the 2000s, what a great way for them to get to go back and go, okay, I understand kind of the transition or the way that this band has evolved and changed throughout every decade that they have been in, and we're so happy that they're still playing. What are your top things that you keep going back to DMTB to do some things with them? What keeps you going back?
Well, definitely the culture, and just like the family aspect of it for sure. Like the guys are all like brothers to me, and David I've known longer than most of them, but I mean, time doesn't matter with friendship, as you know. Like if you make a good friend, you make a good friend for life. So that they're
Right.
great, and then also just being around people like what you mentioned about the band. Like we're all just as passionate and nerdy about it as the next guy. We just happen to play instruments, and then we apply it to that, right? So
That's
we're
right.
all just as big into it. We're just kind of I love what Gary says. It's like a basically a Dave Matthews karaoke session, you know what I mean, for the audience. Like we're just all there to have fun and play the music and have that good
And that
time.
happens. It happens at every show that I've been to, and even online. I just see it at every show that's put on. Just people are so excited to have live music in general, right? Like we can say that across the
Yeah.
board. Any kind of live music is beautiful, but when you have a connection with that music and it's something that you cannot pay to go hear live anywhere else,
Yeah.
there's such a magnet that pulls us in and be like, oh, do you want to go back to 1995? Close your eyes and come with me. I will take you right there. And you
Yep.
guys nail it every time. It's just such a really cool feeling. Its feelings are hard to describe, but I know that so many people that are listening to this that have been to DMTV shows, they can understand because you're doing very well. And with doing very well comes, of course, a group supporters that have just the numbers have grown. You can see that at the shows and in the ticket sales and in the merch sales and all of the online things that are happening, that people are really understanding what it is that you are doing, that you're you are paying tribute to and just who you guys are in general. And of course, this is part of the getting to know you week when it comes to DMTB is who are these guys? What are they doing? Because I do think that helps make better connections when you're trying to, explain what it is that you're after. I know that tribute bands get a lot of questions like, why is there a tribute band when Dave Matthews Band is still playing? And those are good questions. What would you say back to that if someone were to ask you that?
Yeah, that's definitely one. You're right. That gets asked a lot. My answer, and everyone has a slightly different perspective, but I've always seen it as like number one, the cost of tickets these days is very high, and if you want to be able to experience the band not only a little bit differently, like you said, in an older form, but just for way less of a financial burden up front, and maybe you. And that's the reason that you don't go to see the actual band, then we can offer that. But then also, it's just like you said, being able to offer a different version of the band. The real bands out there, they're doing their thing and they're doing phenomenally as always. But we're having fun playing, and we're not stepping on their toes, so to speak. It's purely just so that we can have a good time as fans, bringing the music out there to more people. So
That's right. And more people, 2026 is all about more people. The band is traveling from coast to coast, going to places they've never been. It's just exciting to see other people excited. And
mhm.
I'm so encouraged by that because I think that 2026 is going to be such a year of growth for you guys. I'm excited to be on the sidelines watching it
Yeah,
all. It really is amazing. But of course, amazing things happen when you have great musicians that have passion. And I think that that's something that everyone can see when you're on the stage performing is that there's just passion oozing out of everything that you do. And we can tell that you're not up there because you just needed a gig to play. You're up there because you love the music that you're playing. And what an honor to get
yeah.
to pay tribute to these guys that have been such a big part of our lives. So, of course, 2026 is a busy year. Do you know how many shows you're going to be able to fit in so far? I know that the schedule's out and has been posted out for everyone to see
Yep.
through April at least. And so, guys, if you have never seen DMTP, definitely go to dmtb.com. You can see their schedule. You can buy your tickets there. And I encourage you to buy tickets now because they are just disappearing very quickly. So don't wait. Definitely check out dmtb.com. So do you know how many shows you're going to be able to make? Just how many are you going to be able to
Um,
squeeze in between all of the things you have going on in life?
yeah. I'm pretty sure between now and the end of April, I'm doing probably 5.
That's a good number.
So, uh, yeah, I think I chatted with David about it. I think he's gonna maybe try and do something where he puts like a little keyboard emoji next to shows I might be on for those that maybe want to hear the key sound or whatever. But
Yes, that's
um,
a great idea.
so Downchick Studios in Pembroke, Mass. I believe that's the 16th of January, and then Tupelo on the 17th of January, and then we're in St. Pete. I think you're going to be at the St. Pete show, right? That one's at the end of February,
Yes,
and that
I will be
and I
there.
will be on that one. But that from my memory, that's the furthest out I go. But
I
I think there
know.
might be a few more.
Time is tricky, and when you start talking about schedules, it gets really
Yeah,
hairy. It's just like, I don't know, I have to look at my spreadsheet, right? Like, I
yeah,
don't know where I'm gonna
exactly.
be. Especially with you, just like traveling for an actual profession and then traveling as like a kind of a side profession. It's just travel, travel, travel with you.
Oh
Does
yeah.
your wife like to travel with you when you're traveling
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit, or is that yeah? Does she
Yeah.
enjoy the music of Dave Matthews Band?
Yeah, it's funny, like, she had obviously known of them through radio hits and stuff before we met, but now
Mhm.
she's like we go to concerts and even DMTB, and I see her singing along to stuff, so she's definitely
Yay.
like yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, I hope I get to meet her at a show. I know in the past times she wasn't there for I'm sure she couldn't be there. And so I love meeting all of the family members to see who's your support system at home. I've got a chance to
Yeah.
even meet David's parents and all of this. And it really just opens your eyes to like what a big deal this is and how many people are standing by to assist you guys to say, hey, we're here at home holding down the home front while you're gone and have fun. And then life continues when you get back. So it's exciting that you're going to be out and about in 2026 because I'll say it, you bring something to the show. I can
Yeah,
tell
thank
when
you.
you're not there. I can tell you, I mean, everyone can tell when you're not there, but like when you are there, it's everything, right? Because I'm such a
Thank you.
big fan of the work that Butch Taylor did. I mean, there's so many little things that he did that is not done anymore. And that is completely fine. I never try to
Yeah.
compare, what I call the decades, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. We're talking about 4 different decades here. And so, of course, the music has changed. And what I love
Oh yeah.
about you guys, again, is just that you hold fast to those first 10, well, quite a big span. 91, if you want to say, all the way to 2008-ish, something like that. And
Yeah.
so that's a lot to cover. It gives you 10 years as the keys player to really kind of, or if you want to go before that and go into Peter, yeah, there's so much that you can do. And so I'm sure that show after show doesn't get boring to you because there's just so much
Mhm.
material that you can play.
No, and it's great because the guys do, a couple times a year we kind of get together and put our heads together, so to speak, and go, hey, what other tunes have we not done in a while that we could add? And oftentimes there's one or two that are more key heavy, but yeah, it's cool because we're always trying to change it up. And I mean, you've seen maybe some of the posts Dave has put out with some of those deeper cuts, and those are fun to learn for sure because it's
Yes,
a lot
yes.
of left field, but also just nice to have in the repertoire.
We appreciate it so much. Deep tracks are, of course, it's a whole thing with Dave Matthews Band fans. We want those deep ones that we never hear because their catalog is just extensive. You guys make it a little more tangible for us to have those things that we may not get with Dave Matthews Band. And so there's just
Yeah,
so many
that's the goal.
reasons, so many
Yeah.
reasons to go see DMTB.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a good memory, like kind of on that topic briefly here. Like, never had this before, but somebody requested "Here on Out," which Gary had, I think, learned briefly when it first came out, but he'd never done it live. And then the long story short is that in the audience, guy actually proposed to his wife while Gary was playing it, which was really cool, pretty emotional, but it was really cool. But like
Whoa.
you said, you don't the odds of like being able to request a specific song for an engagement for a Dave Matthews show is very little. But yeah, we can
All
offer
right.
that. So.
That has to be cool to see all of these things happening from the stage. And while I know you're concentrated on what you're doing and you're having a good time, of course, working with the other fellas on stage, do you ever find yourself like catching a glimpse of something positive or cool that's happening in the crowd?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that what we love most is, we feed off of the crowd's energy as would any band, but like our favorite thing for sure is like when we play a tune that just gets everybody in the pit up and dancing. That's just like you can't beat that energy,
Hmm.
So
No,
especially like if someone's soloing and people are feeding off of the solo, like it's really fun.
it is. It's amazing. Zach, is there anything in particular that you help the band with outside of just playing the keys?
Yeah, occasionally. Actually, just this last week, I went out to David's to hang out with him, but also we were working on some of the audio and video for the ones we're working on that we just released. But yeah, I like helping him out with kind of the behind the scenes stuff with the content we put out. And then a little bit of I run the set list page for them, the DMTB set list. So if you're interested in what we're playing, check that out for sure at DMTB set list. And then occasionally we'll answer like DMs that we get and stuff like that. But yeah, just whatever I can do to kind of take a little bit of the load off for all the guys.
Right, right. I can't say thank you enough for being on the show. I'm so excited that I've been able to shed a little light on what you guys are doing. Of course, I'm such a big fan. That's why you guys are on this show is I just, when I see fans doing great things, that's what this podcast is about. Fans doing things. And there's so many fans of Dave Matthews Band that are doing so many things because of this music. And the band DMTB is another example of what fans are doing because of the music. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your time. And guys, you can see where the band is going, of course, dmtb.com, but you can also see where the podcast is going because I'll be on the road with DMTB in 2026. So I would love to see you at a show. Remember, grab those tickets now. They are selling out. The word is out that DMTB is the next hot ticket during this time. And so grab yours now, prepare now, and let us know if you're coming to one in the future. I would love to know which shows you're going to. So post something on the walls, or you can simply go to the Space Between on any of the socials and hit me up, message me. But if you're interested in sharing your personal fan journey on the show, it's simple. Send me an email, Renee at the Space Between Podcast, dmb.com. From there, I'll just reach back out to you. I'll get you scheduled on the show. Now, I like to say that people on the show, a lot of people think that they don't have a fan story. And I'm here to say that you're wrong. You don't have to have ever been to any show to be a fan of this music. You could have just found them 3 years ago. And all of that qualifies you to be on the show. that is what we're documenting, is how many different ways this music has taken people. And again, with every single story that I have recorded, each one of them is different, and we're almost in the 200s. So there's evidence there that this music is doing big things, and we already knew that. I'm just making sure it gets documented for those future generations and for us now that are still enjoying that. So Zach, thanks again. I will see you in February, if not before. So guys, in the meantime, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.